Hey everybody, welcome to Geekoholics.
What? I didn't even say anything. Are we going to do the show or what?
Welcome to Geekoholics Anonymous, episode 138. I'm your host, Rico, here with my co-host.
The person who's on track tonight, Mr. Dayne Cody.
I couldn't help it. I just told him to shut his face after before I started, and then I couldn't keep it in. Sorry, everybody. Welcome.
Tells me to shut my face. That's what you get. That's what you get.
Geekoholics Anonymous. We get together once a week, talk about video games, TV, movies, and or whatever the hell we like. This week, we will be talking a little bit about CES, the Consumer Electronics Show going on down in Vegas.
CES.
More importantly, we're going to be talking about our top 10s of 2017.
Yes.
In no particular order.
Exactly. It seems too difficult to try and actually put them in a list of what my favorite game was.
It is too hard. And I'm like, no Windows, because my computer's like, hey, let's do an update right now. How about we don't? Because I'm recording a podcast. Microsoft, thanks.
Yeah.
But no thanks. Yeah, so we're going to get into our top 10s. Should we do that at the top or at the end?
I say we get right into it.
They get rid of it.
Dive right in there.
And then we'll get into
first.
what we've been playing, news and stuff.
Yeah.
Public service announcements, and of course our free-for-all, where we talk about whatever the hell we like.
Yeah.
We got a couple things this week.
Yeah.
So,
this
is the third year we've done this, or the second year we've done this? Third year.
Third year, my friend.
Okay. Third top 10.
Yep.
And in, like I said, no particular order.
We usually go through our personal top 10 games, and then we usually yell back and forth, and then we usually choose a game, sometimes each, sometimes together, if it's a game that we both agree is the best game of the year. Sometimes we also just pick what our personal top game was of the year as well.
And we share quite a few on this list. So.
Yeah, we do.
Do you want to start?
No, I want to go second. You can go first.
You want to go second? Okay.
Yeah.
Number 10, in no particular order. It's just the top of my list.
Okay.
Because I've kind of decided on, I do have a number one. So,
all right.
Overall, but everything else, well, some things more than others you can interchange. But Metroid Returns on 3DS.
Okay.
I had a really good time with that. It was a game, it was a pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting a Metroid game, especially not on 3DS. And I didn't know it was a game I wanted until I started playing it. And I'm like, oh man, Metroid's so good. It was fantastic.
That was the remake of the second one.
Yeah, remake of the second one from Game Boy. Fantastic 3D. They added a cool parry mechanic. And it was freaking huge. And of course it was Metroid. And I've been dying for Metroid. I don't understand how these types of 2D games in a series like this just aren't yearly, or at least every other year, because they're so damn good. To be honest, if it wasn't early access and if I had played more, and it's going to be in my honorable mentions and it's in my what I've been playing, Dead Cells would be in this list, but I just simply haven't played enough of it. And I think it might have actually came out in 2016. So
I thought Dead Cells was still in early access.
Yeah, it is early access.
Right.
And I think it came out in 2016 in early access. But yeah, Metroid Returns on 3DS. It's cool.
Fair enough.
It's nice. It was a pleasant surprise.
One of the ones I did not play this year. I heard good things though. And I played a little bit of it at PAX and it was fun.
That's what definitely sold me on it, was when we played it at PAX. I'm like, oh yeah.
It's so hard for me just because, we've talked about it before on the show, but, for me, portable games, I love the idea of them, but I don't have that much time to play them. Like if I'm at home, I might as well be playing like a full game. And when I'm out driving around, I'm usually the one driving. So there's just not a lot of point in me owning like portable stuff a lot. So
yeah, the handheld portable stuff works out really well for me because it's like when I get downtime in a quick chunk where I can pick up from suspend mode, like on Switch or 3DS or even Vita, even though I don't think I touched my Vita once this last year. With the little one running around, you never know when you're going to have a little break, and when you can just grab something like that and plug at it a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's so easy.
Fair enough.
So you got one for me, Dane?
Yeah. I'm going to start again, not in any particular order. I'm going to start at the bottom of my list though, if you will. And in a game that, there's a couple games on my list that are, there's 2 games on my list that did not get released this year, but they are on my list because they are games that I either continued to play way too much of throughout the year, and I can't not have them on my list without feeling shame, or they were sort of, one of the games on my list is a game that saw a major change and re-release almost. So it was almost like a different game.
Yeah. So they're also games of service, so they're always evolving. So
yeah.
It's like every year is
particular,
like,
and one of them in particular for sure.
Every year is like it's a new game almost.
I know. So for me, the bottom of my list for sure would be Smite. It's anybody who listens to the podcast knows that it's a game that I still talk about sometimes, but it's kind of like my Dota. It's that game that I constantly go back to. It's the thing that I constantly check in on. Sometimes I'll go a week or 2 or a month without touching it, and then I'll jump back into it and I'll play way too much of it. Obviously, I don't talk about it a ton on the show because I've talked about it a ton on the show. But that game continues to suck me back in, and it is sort of my MOBA of choice that continues to... I come back. It's the only game I think that I end up watching any esports stuff of, which I'll talk about a little bit more in the news. But for me, it's kind of got to be on my list because it's a game that I've continued to spend way more time than I care to admit playing, especially in a year that had so many amazing games that I probably should have been spending more time playing. But
I think Smite is the game I've installed the most amount of times without ever actually playing.
Gotta just do that, man.
I think I've installed it on my Xbox, my PS4, my PC, couple builds of PC, and never ever have even played it once.
Have launched it? Do you even have an account?
I think I have an account because I had to sign up for an account to get like some skins that we got at PAX or that I got at E3 or something.
Okay, yeah.
Which was pointless. I should have just gave them to you.
Probably.
But either way.
Yeah. One day I'll convince you. You'll come play.
Maybe
and then
one day when there's
in.
a lull in this industry where 0 games are getting released, maybe I'll have time, or I'll find that freeze time.
I know.
IRL mechanic.
I know. So that's kind of, I put it on the bottom of my list, not because it deserves to be on the bottom, but just because it's a game that I've been playing for probably 5 years now. So, and it just, I don't know. It's like a wine. As it seems to age, they seem to do better things, and it just, they keep adding to it, and it's real good. So,
my next game is Persona 5. Everyone knows that Persona 5 was pretty well reviewed. Probably the best JRPG I played all year long. The only JRPG I played all year long.
Did you ever
I never ended up finishing it. I'm on the last dungeon.
I was gonna say you haven't put the nail in that coffin yet.
No, I just have to go back. Like I'm crossing the threshold. I'm like at the finish line.
Oh man,
I just gotta buckle up and do it.
If I was there, I would have to just do it. I think I don't know.
It is a
huge game.
Japanese role playing game. I think I'm over 100 hours. I believe last time I checked.
Crazy. Game is so big.
It's basically high school anime, turn-based RPG, but it's got so much style, amazing music, cool characters. I really like the story. The combat's cool. The combat system they have, it's just more Persona evolved and just like brought to the next level. Persona 4 was so good, and this is just continuing that streak of awesomeness that Atlas just has with this series.
Mm-hmm.
I won't be surprised if this comes to Switch. I don't see any reason why it couldn't run on Switch, but that's besides the point. But yeah, Persona 5 is definitely in my top 10.
Fair enough.
Awesome game.
From what I understand, it deserves to be there.
Yeah, if you like role-playing games, you have to play it.
I do. I love role-playing games. I've tried, what was it, Persona 3, I want to say I think I tried. And actually, as funny as it sounds, the high school drama aspect of that game actually really turned me off. That was the part of it that I didn't like. It was all the stuff outside of the dungeons, where you're kind of running around making decisions, trying to like hang out with your friends and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was the stuff that actually turned me off of the series. The last Shin Megami Tensei game that I played was Nocturne, and I got 3/4 of the way through that one, and it was incredibly amazing. I think that was on the PS2, and incredible game, but hard as balls. And I probably dropped 80 hours into that game, and then kind of hit a weird wall where it just like, I don't know if it was just the characters that I had chosen or what, but like there was like an area that I just could not get past, and dropped off it.
There are some bosses in the Persona series that, if you've got the wrong team or the wrong gear, they can be very not fun. There's definitely strategy when it comes to the boss fights. Just over level. Of course, superpower leveling always works.
Right.
But they usually have moves that will wipe your party if you don't defend or figure out the mechanic, because they add little weird mechanics to the boss fights in Persona.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some points where it's like, you can't just always do attack in your most powerful spell and then just brute force your way through fights. You actually have to use some strategy with attacking and defending and taking advantage of enemies' weaknesses or paying attention to them.
Yeah.
Because some enemies will just be straight up, you can't do any damage. You're like, what?
How come I can't do damage? Yeah.
And, you should have realized by this point a certain ability you have or spell is the key. And they do that quite often. Just so you can't get through it with just the simple. It's not exactly button mashing because it's turn-based, but,
Yeah. You gotta have some thought into it.
Spamming your basic attacks. But yeah, Persona 5 is dope. I love it. I need to go back and finish it.
You really do. I feel if you're that close and you've dropped that kind of time into it, you just need to like just push it over the finish line. It's like the car broke down. You just need to get out and just push it across.
Yeah. What do you got for me, Dayne?
Ghost Recon Wildlands is the next one on my list.
Also on my list.
Yeah, it's it was one of those games that kind of came out. They've done a ton to the game since release. They've worked hugely hard on it. They've done some really cool things. They've added like a PvP mode, and they're doing a lot of cool things with the game. But it was just a game that was like a giant sandbox that I had a lot of fun with it. I know it's a game with problems, but I still dropped probably 40 or so, maybe even more hours into it.
I don't know what my game clock is.
And I can still probably drop a lot more time into it because I feel like I've barely scratched that surface still.
Yeah, I know.
You and Trevor put probably more time than I did in.
We didn't play that much together just because our schedules always don't seem to mix. But yeah, this was me and Trevor's like go-to game for a few months. And man, I've never laughed so hard to the point of where like I'm crying. Yeah. And I'm not talking about like one game session, like almost every great game session. Like I told the story on the podcast of the mission where we were trying to save this scientist, or I can't remember what he was, but we were trying to get him from the cartel. So we had to disable the car in the front of the convoy, and then they'd stop and he'd run out of the vehicle. But then it literally took us like 20 times to do it without us killing him as well. Because, somehow another car would come and we'd blow it up and it would go flying and it would crush him. Or he'd run into traffic and get killed. Or we'd just inadvertently run him over. Or some other
accidentally shoot him, or he'd get out and then the enemy would shoot him.
And it's just like one instance of like just the crazy emergent gameplay that would happen in that game. Like,
yeah, I feel like the game takes itself a little bit too seriously. Mm-hmm. Like I think if it had a little bit more of a kind of a Just Cause vibe, I think it would have worked a little better.
That never bothered me, but yeah, some people didn't like the banter between the characters. They were super brosif.
That part of it was like I said, it had its laughable moments. But overall, like the gameplay was fantastic, and just being able to like jump in a helicopter and fly over to a place. And
I haven't played in a while. We've been meaning to go back. I think we've only, regardless of how much time we put in, I think we're maybe only halfway. That game is massive.
Oh yeah.
And the shooting feels good. The guns feel good. There's so much customization.
I had a lot of fun playing that
every
game.
Little dot on your map is gonna further your skills or like better your weapons.
Or give you a silencer or something.
It was a nice surprise. It wasn't literally wasn't on my radar. I'm like, oh, cool. Another army guys shooting drug dealers, whoopee ding dong. But like just even the most basic gameplay mechanic of your little spy drone. Like that's so much fun.
Totally. Yeah, it was.
Or just fucking bouncing down a hill in a 4x4 or a motorcycle.
It was one of those games where I looked at it and I was kind of like, this is kind of not a great game, but I'm having so much fun playing it that how can it not be a great game? Like that's, I don't know. That's kind of how I looked at it.
But it was a great game.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I had a blast. I still can't
believe that these guys have not aped the Battlegrounds mode. It is, out of every game I've ever played, it seems the most fitted for this.
Well, they have, but it's not. Yeah, it's smaller than you would think.
They need a straight 100 mode. They've got the mods.
I think it's only 30 in the official one that they've released.
They've got the mods. They've got the weapons.
And then as well
it makes no sense that it doesn't exist.
As well as over Christmas, they released a Predator.
The Predator event
that was happening.
I don't know if that's still on. That was
I don't believe so. Where Predator was dropping into people's games and killing them all. Apparently, he was super hard to kill. But if you did manage to kill Predator, then you got some cool in-game
some really
stuff.
Sweet fucking gear.
Yeah. But just stuff like that, and they're still working on it, which is really cool. So it definitely earns a spot on my list.
Nice. And mine as well.
Yeah.
That was my number 6 in no particular order. Next up for me is Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
It is the best Resident Evil since Resident Evil 4. It takes Resident Evil back to the survival horror roots, even more so than even any of the other games in the series. It's got a huge horror vibe, probably bigger than any, like I said, more a larger horror aspect than most of the other games. I say I've never been scared so many times, and to mention that, like, I played over half of this game in VR.
So your wife kept messing with you, and you had to stop.
That was part of it, but it was also the whole now that it's resolved with the new PSVR headset, the whole kerfuffle of like
playing
VR at the start of the year when this game came out, it was a big thing. I had to unplug and plug cords, and it got to a point where I was like, oh, it's not plugged in. I'm just going to play regular. And that's kind of why it happened. But I played over half of this game in VR, and it was just, man.
Scary as balls.
Yeah. I had a few freaking heart attacks. It was very unsettling. It was so eerie and freaky, but it was so awesome at the same time. Like, it was grueling punishment playing it, because I'm not a scary movie guy or like fright guy, jump scares, all that crap. But yeah, it was such a great game. Like, they took it back. They brought it back from that nonsense that 5 and 6 had become. Basically, Gears of War shooters were just monsters. We had the puzzles. You need this item to get through this part. The spectacularly gruesome boss fights. The messed up, like, just locales and gruesome, I don't know, lore or family that they set up in this game.
Right.
And then just the cool tie-in to, the rest of the Resident Evil franchise, which obviously, of course, there is a tie-in.
Right. I was going to ask, like, did it really tie into, like, the umbrella and all that stuff?
I don't want to spoil any of that stuff, but
cool.
it's definitely connected.
Okay, cool.
It's not super heavy-handed like most of the other ones, but
because I've always felt like
are all there.
With the Resident Evil stuff, I've always felt like, man, they've made several like animated films at this point, but they all kind of sucked. And I'm always kind of surprised that they haven't.
I haven't seen any of those, but man, Resident Evil 7's freaking great. If you can get it on sale and you liked any of the like classic,
the original couple Resident Evils,
it's a classic Resident Evil with good controls, and you can also play it in VR.
That in and of itself is pretty awesome, because the tank controls in the old ones are pretty bad.
It's as good, if not better, than number 4, and I'd say it's on par with any of the original, like 1 and 2. I think 2 is the best of the old ones before 4.
Right.
And I say this is right up there with 4, so.
That's cool. That's cool. It's awesome. A game.
And if you looking
I want
for, like,
to own it. I want to get it. I want to be able to, like, put people in it in VR and have them hate me.
Get it on sale.
But
play it on VR.
I don't know. I know myself well enough to know I'm probably never going to play it is the problem.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not the guy that loves the like scary games. Like, I played 1 and 2 and
those games are not scary. This game is scary.
At the time they were, though. At the time when I was,
I guess
the age.
we were a lot younger. The jump scares, but those are so cheap. This game is just environmentally terrifying.
Right.
And when they can get in your face, so like in VR, it's so like
it's uncomfortable is what it is.
You understand why those people are like,
because the kitchen demo is from Resident Evil, right?
Oh yeah. That's in the game,
right? And that's very uncomfortable. That whole thing.
It's really cool how they do that. Like the kitchen demo is essentially like a VHS tape that you find in the game and play through.
Oh,
but it's like a storytelling element. There's actually quite a few. There's a few little instances in Resident Evil 7 where you find these VHS tapes, and they are like separate little
like mini stories,
little mini horror vignettes or whatever.
They're experiences.
Yeah, they're pretty. Though their experience is all right. How to pee your pants.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Back to you, Dane. What do you got? What's next?
So this was a game that, like I said, it got a relaunch. It got a reworking hard. They reworked their entire systems and so much of this game, and they re-released it as Secret World Legends this year. So the original Secret World, it did a lot of super cool, super unique things in the MMO space. I had been super interested in that game since it first, since long before they released that game.
Yeah.
I pre-purchased that game, I think, when it finally came out. Played the crap out of the original, but it was a game that did have a couple of issues, unfortunately. Easily one of the coolest stories, and some of the gameplay elements in that game are just unreal. And they kind of went back to that's the thing, is like they went back to the drawing board.
That was this year?
Yeah. So they went back to the drawing board. They got rid of a bunch of the stuff. They brought in a bunch of stuff. They reworked how the leveling system works. They reworked like a ton of different things and made it, in my opinion, they made it a lot better. Just because I liked what they were trying to do in the original game. They tried not to have levels necessarily. So like enemies didn't have levels and you didn't have a level and stuff like that. And like, it was a neat idea, but in an MMO like that, it doesn't work very well because you don't have an idea of like, can I take these guys on? I'm only this level. They're that level. It kind of gives you a good idea. Well, if I'm level 20 and they're level 30, chances are they're going to kick my ass. Whereas before, when you didn't have levels, it was based on like gear level and like all this kind of stuff. So they kind of went back to the drawing board. They reworked all that stuff. They streamlined the beginning a bit. They did a better sort of intro. And I started playing it since the re-release, and like I've said on the show before, it's like a game that like I think I pop back in to try and, I wonder if there's anything cool for Christmas time, and the next thing I know, 8 hours of my day are gone because I've been playing it. And that's a good problem to have. And it's a fantastic game with, like I said before, easily one of the coolest stories and some of the coolest gameplay elements of any game, not just an MMO, but any game, period. With some of the various missions in that game and how you actually have to really, the puzzles in it are not just like easy little go here, do this, whatever.
Yeah.
They take some serious thought. Like sometimes you're writing stuff down and then you're Googling things and it's cool. And I mean, and obviously at this point the game's been out for a while. So if, you really get stuck, you can totally look up a fact.
It's free to play now, right?
Yep, it is. Yeah,
from what you were saying before and what I've heard on the internet, there's definitely some very unique gameplay quests in this game that have never been done or seen before.
No,
which are really cool, and
it's incredible, and it's actually
high praise.
It's actually sad that like more people haven't seen it because like I think if more games would do kind of things like this, I think it would be really neat. And also it's different. It's like a Lovecraftian horror game. It's all the little things that go bump in the night, turn out to kind of be real, and you're trying to figure out what's going on and why this is happening. And at the beginning of the game, you can choose to either become part of the Illuminati or part of the Templars or part of the Dragons. And and these are all sort of secret societies, and they're all, as you go throughout the game, you realize that they're all different. They're all kind of in a weird way at war with one another, but they kind of need each other at the same time. And it's
on
really
Steam,
cool,
right?
Is it on Steam?
Secret World Legends, right?
Yes. I'm not sure if it's on Steam or not.
Release date, the 31st of July, 2017.
Okay. So
Funcom, right?
Yes, it is a Funcom game. Yeah. So, and that's probably part of their relaunch was they were like, okay, let's put this thing on Steam because that's where everybody, who plays PC games gets their games from. But yeah, I think the relaunch was great. I've played a ton of it since the relaunch, and I'm really liking it still. It still has a few hiccups, and obviously, it is based on an older game engine, so it's not going to look, quite like the new hotness that some of this stuff is. But man, if you can look past some of that is easily one of my favorite RPGs. Sort of reimagined and come back this year in a great way, and I hope more people play it because those guys deserve it.
76 on Metacritic, mostly positive reviews on Steam. Yeah. I just bookmarked it, so maybe one day I'll install it on multiple platforms and never play it.
There you go. Sweet.
I don't know how you didn't play this one, but
I know.
Easily, probably. No, not probably. It's the phenomenon of 2017, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Not a new genre by any means. This game existed as a mod for years. I think in Arma 2 or 3. It's just an evolution. They launched their own, game from, basically early access mod community gameplay type to early access, and actually now version 1.0 on PC. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds takes a tried and true battle royale gameplay, but just made it accessible enough that most people could get into it without a huge barrier to entry. These games are usually mods for these gameplay types are usually mods for other games. So there's the hurdle of buying Arma 3 and then even knowing or learning the whole how to install it as a mod and whatnot, right? And there was a few others that came out that went solo even before PlayerUnknown's. I think like King of the Kill and what is it, H1Z1 or not?
H1Z1 was similar, but a little different.
Yeah, a little different. So it wasn't the first, and it won't certainly be the last, but it just came up with an ingredient, I don't know, features that just made it easy to get into. And for the most part, played pretty decent. There's a little bit of jankiness, which is those rough edges are getting sanded off with each update. I will talk about it more in what you've been playing, because I have been playing it again since the 1.0 release. But just if you've been living under a rock, or this is the first time you ever listened to the show, PUBG is a first-person shooter, or third-person shooter,
depending on how you want to do it.
Third person was the first iteration of it, and then they added a first-person mode. But yeah, you're dropped in a map, 100 other players, with a circle that continually moves and shrinks to force everyone to basically the grand finale battle royale deathmatch to leave the last man standing. Weapons are completely randomly spawned all over the map, as are vehicles and attachments and armor and whatnot. And yeah, there's essentially one rule: don't die.
Kill everybody
and don't die. That's it. And get your winner chicken dinner. Why is it in my list? Because according to Steam, I played 78 hours of it.
Wow.
To be honest, most of it solo mode. I played a few duos matches. I don't think I've ever played a squad match.
Okay.
I think I've only ever played duos with Trevor. But no, because the stakes are so high. When you're in that top 10, you will get an adrenaline rush like nothing ever.
Right.
Well, like instances in your life, those near-death instances where you almost get hit by a car, or like that butterfly feeling when the cops are pulling you over and you're like, you got busted breaking the law.
Yeah.
But it's just a pure rush of adrenaline, and that any moment, it could be over, or it could just get even heightened as you kill your next victim and move closer to the top of the pile. It's exhilarating, and gets literally no other game besides potentially Resident Evil 7, which was a different version of this.
Kind of in a weird way, the opposite. It's that dread and that
getting your heart, like literally getting your heart racing. Like, right. As if you were like working out like insanely furiously. Oh, it is unreal. It's like a drug release. It is a super unique experience that I've had before in games, but not as often and replicatable as it is in this game.
Right.
It's still, like, to this day, when I play it and get into that the top 10, it's just like, it's exhilarating. It's
You're
awesome.
shaking afterwards.
And you forget about all the jankiness and all the issues and whatnot. So yeah,
right.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is definitely in my top 10.
Fair enough, man. It's funny. Like, you're not the first person to be like, how the hell did you not play this? Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's one of those things where I know
that's only $30.
You played it. A whole bunch of my clan mates, they're still playing the crap out of it. I don't know what it is. It's like, it's weird. I feel like it's one of those situations where if I was to play it, I would probably enjoy it, but I have no real interest in playing it. It's just like there's so many other things that I own and I want to play that one was just, I don't know. It just didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
It is funny because there is there's no like real progression,
right,
or end game or anything like that, right? It is you are in it to win it, and that's it. And then you die. If you die really quickly, you just queue back in and hope for the best. Or if you do well and you make it to the top, it's a 20-minute, half-hour game.
Right.
And just the experience and sensation is just like, wow.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So my next game is one that is the other game that definitely was not released this year, but it is a games as a service, and I don't know how it sort of took me this long to download it, but because Destiny 2 was taking forever and I wanted to play a game like that, I downloaded Warframe on PC.
Hey, so did I.
And I have put, I think the last time I checked on Steam, I'd put over 50 hours into that game.
Wow.
And it snuck up on me. I don't know how I did it. I don't feel like I put that much time into it, but which is good, I guess. And that game is great. They've done some incredible things. I have a ton of fun with it. The systems are super deep. There's a few things that they could do a little better, but overall, I think it's an incredible game. It's available free to play.
Again, another free to play game. Dayne's top 10 is much cheaper than mine.
So. But no, it's out on PC. It's out on PS4. I believe it's out on Xbox One as well.
I think so. Yeah, I think I've seen it there.
And like, honestly, it's a third person. You're a space ninja, and you got cool powers, and you have a Warframe that you choose. There's a ton of different ones in the game. And honestly, if you never want to spend a dime in that game, you can do everything, get everything, and you honestly never have to spend a dime on it. It is truly one of those games that is free to play if you want. And honestly, like, it's great. It's a really good game. If you're looking for, like, I feel like in a weird way, like it's kind of a little bit like Destiny in some ways, and a little not like Destiny in other ways, but there's the amount of content there is incredible, and they're still pushing it out. It's still coming out. It
has a huge player base. Yeah,
there's tons of players. Like, it's great. It's a solid game, and like I said, I don't know what took me. I mean, I know I dabbled in it a little bit when I first got my PS4. It was one of the games that came out on the PS4 as a bit of a launch title, and I remember playing it a little bit back then, but it just didn't. It did a lot of things then that it not well, and they've definitely done a much better job at that beginning part of that game to sort of help beginning players to figure out their way and what to do and where to go, and just to keep you interested. It's been, like I said, it's been a game that I've logged a lot of time into, and I did not anticipate. I downloaded it, I installed it because I was like, hey, I wouldn't mind playing some Destiny, but that's definitely not a game that's out yet on the PC. So, and I was kind of in the mood, and here I am now with 34 hours played. Of Warframe. So it's definitely on my list for this year.
I did install this one, and I did play a couple hours, and I'm gonna play more of it. I did like what I played, so
yeah. So,
moving on back to my list. My next title we already talked about, so I'm gonna skip over to there's no particular order until the end, so it doesn't matter. Destiny 2.
Fair enough.
Destiny 2 is in my top 10. I beat this game 6 times. I have max leveled 6 characters. I have gaming disorder. My name is Rico, and I have a problem.
Into it than anything.
Hi, my name is Rico, and I'm a geekaholic. Yeah. Oh god, it was already so good. It's not good. It's good, bad. It's the same thing as Destiny 1, but it's better. But then it's worse.
So it's still the best worst game ever?
Yeah, it's so good, but then there's so many things that are just bad. But the bad is not so bad. It's just the game is so good that the flaws really
stand out.
Really make
and the fact that you want to keep playing it upsets you because there's not more of it to play.
And I think part of the problem with the flaws in the community with this game is that because the game is so good, they just want more and more and more, and you can just never satiate these people. It's such a super solid first-person shooter with so many unique, amazing guns, cool multiplayer instances and gameplay, and the loot and the gameplay circle loop or whatever just has me coming back for more, and I can't stop.
Yeah.
It's beautiful on PC and runs like freaking amazing.
Hey man, it's also on my list. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's great. Of course, there's no in-game counter, so I don't know how many hours, but a lot of hours. And it's a blast. I mean, I don't know how many other people we've managed to get into Destiny 2.
Jesus Christ. Sorry. I'm just looking at time wasted on Destiny.
You got a lot of time wasted?
I haven't pulled mine up yet. I'm just looking at the guy who's the top of the PS4 leaderboard. He's played for 2,144 hours.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Has there even been that many hours since the game came out, for crying out loud?
I'm scared.
So, but yeah, no, that was definitely a game that, like you said, it's like I love it, but I hate it, but I love it. I keep coming back to it. Even though I've beaten it and done pretty much all the content except for the raid, I keep thinking I should play other things, but I keep loading up Destiny and playing Destiny, so I'm in a similar boat. I've definitely not leveled up 6 characters to the max, but
I'm 95 hours on PS4 apparently. I gotta find my PC because I have different handles.
Yeah. I feel like I looked for mine and didn't find it before.
What is my...
Now that we're off looking for our hours wasted.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, time wasted on Destiny. I can't pull it up for PC for some reason.
I don't know if you can, actually. There was another way that I did it a while ago, because I managed to find out that I had like 46 hours or something at that point played.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely more than that.
And that was a long time ago, so I know I'm significantly higher than that at this point as well. So, but no, that game is really good. I am looking forward to the next expansion, and I will continue to play the expansions, and continue to play that game. So that is definitely in my top game of as one of the top games of the year.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't see how to see PC. I know I've played probably double or triple the amount I did on PS4.
Yeah,
because clearly I've done the expansion. I've
all on
leveled
PS4
another 3
or
characters.
on PC. Yeah,
I think I only played the PS4 version for the month and a half or 2 months that it was out.
Till the PC came out, and then you realized the PC one was so vastly superior.
Couldn't go back. I've gone back to get loot and stuff in the PS4 version. I don't know why, because I didn't buy.
Say, if you're not planning on playing it, why do you care?
Yeah, it's a great game. Just a quality shooter, and it's beautiful, and it runs awesome, and it plays so good, and it's so much fun, and I'm really good at PvP. It feels good being at the top of your team, like more than every other, like pretty much every other match. When I'm doing well, I'm like the top guy on my team quite easily, and that's even I'll be like coming out of it, me and Trevor doing our weekly milestones, and I'll be like, oh man, I just had a shit match, and it's like, I'm at the top of the team. It's like, okay, I felt like I did really bad, but apparently I guess everyone else did worse.
There you go.
Or just some amazing clutch plays where I just killed the whole other team. That felt freaking awesome. Oh, and I did it again. This game is awesome.
Yeah. So Destiny 2 is also on my list. But the next one on my list would be Horizon Zero Dawn on PS4.
I think the rest of our lists are identical.
Are they?
Yeah. We share all the rest of the games. Nothing's different,
except
unique
for
anywhere.
one game.
What one game? No, they're all the same, dude. Oh, yes. Okay. You have one that I don't have.
I have one that you don't have. Neener.
And I missed that.
Horizon Zero Dawn, a game that it came out at a terrible time.
Yeah, it came out a week after Zelda?
No, it came out a week before Zelda.
Was it a week before?
Yeah, it was a week
whatever.
before, which was brutal. So I put a bunch of time into it, and then, of course, I played Zelda. It's a game that I want to go back to, but it's continually making me want to go back to it, which is why it's on my list. I know you played through and beat it, I believe, right?
I beat the shit out of that.
Yeah, and I want to. But I know that I've played enough that it needs to be on this list. It's probably one of the prettiest games, except for one other game on my list that's not on your list, that is the prettiest game of the year. But we'll get to that. But Horizon Zero Dawn, incredible game. Really cool characters. Love what, after countless Killzone games that, in all honesty, got a lot better. That first one is kind of rough. And then, of course, the debacle of the second one with all the bull shots and everything else. But I feel like they really did make some good Killzone. Like, I thought Killzone 3 was a great game. And
Killzone 3 was decent. The launch Killzone on PS4 was pretty good.
Yeah.
Shadowfall.
Yeah, that was Shadowfall was
there was some
solid.
bad level design on some of the levels that really irked me, but
there was some really bad level
overall
design.
It was a pretty cool freaking game.
And it's a pretty good launch title. Most of the time launch titles are kind of weak.
Phenomenal looking game.
Yeah, and I thought that it did a really good job of going like, this is the next generation, this is on the PS4, and you go like, oh hell yeah, this is why I got a PS4, because it looks like this. So Horizon, I think, gorgeous, beautiful looking game. I think it also introduced a really cool character with Aloy, and just such an intriguing story. They built such a cool world and a universe that I want to. Amazing
world. Horizon's on my list as well. So Horizon is like a marvel technically.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a beautiful open world. It has a great story. It has such a cool lore that they've created. Like you didn't finish the game, so
no,
I don't think you got as much payback or payoff as I did with it. But seeing the reasoning and the story beats as to why everything in the world is the way it is, what happened, the fall of the past civilization, and so forth.
Oh yeah,
it's a really cool freaking world, and it's like, oh, I want more.
It's like we've gone so far into the future that we've regressed.
Yeah, and it's such a really neat storyline and villain, essentially, per se.
I honestly think that the timing for it could not have been worse.
No, it really does suck that I think you're not the only one. I think a lot of people fell off because there was the hype and the excitement of the Switch and Zelda.
Yeah. And I mean, just literally a week later.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like,
it was insane. And the fact that Zelda was a giant open world game that in some ways you could do things you couldn't do in Horizon almost made going and playing a bunch of Zelda and then trying to go back to Horizon.
Yeah, they were very different.
It was very jarring. Like I tried and I was like, okay, I need to play one or the other because I definitely should not be playing both at the same time.
I said on the podcast how every time I would go back to Horizon and I would just jump off a cliff and it's like, shit.
Yep, can't do that. Also, you can't climb shit like you can in Zelda either. So
I don't have a paraglider like I do in Zelda. I can't just jump off any cliff and safely float down. It's like,
yeah. So I think that was a game that did have bad timing.
It did really well. I think it didn't win as many awards as it probably deserves. In my opinion, it is the strongest and best first party unique IP that PlayStation or any platform has had in a really long time.
Yeah.
It is an awesome game.
Yeah.
If Zelda did not come out this year, if Breath of the Wild did not come out this year, this game would have won so many awards. It's unfortunate because 2017, honestly, it's probably one of the best years in video games in a long time. And every year is good. Like, we always have a good handful of like stellar titles lately because the industry is so mature now and they've got banging out these AAA games down to a science. But this year really had some new stuff, and Horizon was just such an awesome knockout of the park. Like,
yeah. No, it was a very pleasant surprise.
If you haven't played it and you own a PS4, what are you doing? Seriously.
Yeah, no, it's a must buy on PS4. If you own a PS4, buy Horizon.
And if you got a Pro and 4K HDR, oh my god.
Yeah.
You want to show your TV off to people?
That's what I've
one
heard.
way to do it.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Remember back in the day when freaking I don't know.
People would come over and play Doom?
No.
No.
You might have been too young for this. Back in the early surround sound, bigger screen TV days, DVD, when you'd like, let's check out the Matrix gun lobby scene.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Too young for this. Give me a break.
Now that's essentially just any freaking AAA first party video game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair.
Though that scene is still pretty badass in surround sound.
Yeah, it is.
It sounds so good.
A little bit of a side tangent, but for me, I remember I went over to a friend's house and his dad was a bit of an audio nerd, and
they had shook the whole fucking house.
And they had an incredible surround sound system, and we watched Black Hawk Down, and still to this day, I do not think I have ever heard a better movie with surround sound in my life. It's
I don't think I've ever watched that one.
It is incredible. All the gunfights, and you're hearing the bullets ricochet off the walls behind you, and the shell casings fall onto the floor behind you and around you, and like is honestly incredible.
I have a nice 7.1 surround sound system that I built in my man cave.
Yeah.
And I don't get to crank it up and enjoy it like I should be able to.
Yeah.
My daughter, when we watch movies, my daughter's sleeping.
Right. So you gotta
or my wife
down.
Just doesn't like it very loud. Like,
I run into a similar problem with my wife. I want to watch movies and I'm like, yeah, let's turn this up. And she's like, can we turn it down? It's too loud. I'm like, no, you're supposed to be surrounded.
You're in a fucking war zone, man. It ain't quiet.
The base is supposed to be shaking the whole house, and then of course she's like, yeah, but we have neighbors and there's people below us, and I'm like, it's not that late. It's only 9:00. Give me a break. Like,
bullets don't whisper; they whiz by your head in beautiful surround sound.
Oh yes,
and they make you look over your shoulder, going like, "Whoa, what was that?"
Yes, all of that. Yes. So, anyways, a little side tangent. But yeah. Horizon Zero Dawn. Show it off to your friends for the PS4 Pro.
Awesome game.
Even without a PS4 Pro, that game is beautiful.
Actually, speaking of audio in games, something I've really recently connected with games again because of just where my office is in the house. Like, I have my man cave, but to be honest, it's only used for movies. I did initially make it for games,
right?
But it's like it's on a different floor of my house, and I have an office upstairs, like where my main gaming PC is, and I have an HD TV in there with my Xbox and PS4 and stuff,
right?
And I find I play games in there because it's an awesome setup I have in there.
Do you play with headphones on? That's
what I was going to say. Because I play on the main floor of my house.
Yeah.
My daughter's room is next to my office. It's been like the last 2 years, I guess, ever since my daughter's been born. I've really played, and I think I've said this before, I've been finding I play the majority of my games, PC or console, with headphones on. And I've really gained like a new appreciation for audio design and music over the last few years. I found just playing on the TV and even playing downstairs on my big screen TV and surround sound, I find with headphones, the audio of video games has just gotten so much more personal and literally in my ear that I connect with soundtracks more now, similar to back when I was younger playing video games where those soundtracks were so like ingrained in your memory, like, you know, any Super Nintendo or NES game that you spent tons of hours with. You could probably recite some of those soundtracks from memory,
absolutely.
Right? You know,
today,
hum
today
them out
I was humming the music to, you know, Super Mario World, and somebody else on site like looked over at me and started humming along. So I mean, you know, it's ingrained in us for sure.
And I bring that up because like Persona 5, for example, has some awesome music.
Yeah, it does. And I've actually listened to that soundtrack even though I didn't play the game.
And listening to it in headphones, just you really hear it because it's the only thing you can focus on. Mm-hmm. You don't have the like, even though your TV might be nice and you have nice speakers or whatever, there's distractions. It's just with the headphones, I just find my gaming experience is even it's elevated. I feel like headphones are the way to play any games, to really enjoy all the little effort and beauty they've put in the music and audio of these games. And it's so good. Like the audio of these games is so unreal.
I mean, the only thing is that you're never going to get true surround sound.
Yeah,
with
I
headphones.
don't care. I don't care about surround sound as much as I like hearing, like, I don't know. In Destiny, I can hear footprints just fine, and I know where enemies are coming from. In PUBG, like, even better than, because I could never have my surround sound loud enough to get the same effect that I do in headphones. But yeah, just.
I'm trying to remember, what kind of headphones do you use?
I have the Logitech.
Do you have the wireless ones?
The wireless ones, the Artemis ones. Yeah, 9G933s. I really like them. They're super comfortable. Yeah. I can wear them forever.
I have a set of the wireless ones for my TV for the PS4. And I find that's really nice because that way when I'm playing games in the morning when my wife's asleep, I can still have it turned up and be listening to the game.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, having the music turned super low so I can barely hear it, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I have the fancy Sony ones, the platinum ones. Platinum?
Yeah, those are the ones. I've got the gold ones. Sorry.
I just find that I use my Logitech ones because you could just put a mic cable or auxiliary cable from either my Xbox or my PS4 into the Logitech headset, and it works.
Yep.
Obviously, you got a little cord, but whatever. It works fine. It sounds awesome.
Yeah. That's cool.
I can actually listen to my PC and my console at the same time through that headset. I may or may not play Destiny and other games at the same time using that method.
You would.
Hey, I'm waiting for a public event. Well, I'll just do a boss fight in Cuphead.
There you go. That's funny. So what else you got on your list here?
Which one? That was Horizon? Okay.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Origins. Obviously, we freaking gushed about this game recently because it's one of the more recent games that honestly did come out. It was on neither of our radars.
No. That game snuck up and stabbed me in the back in a good way.
I had a less than spectacular experience playing it at E3 because of the changed combat system and no info card present. I didn't know what I was doing, and no one was around because it was also an after hours event that I played it at. So,
right.
It was food and drinking and BSing, and I was probably one of the few people just wanting to play games. It was also in the Xbox booth, and I don't know what build it was. I did come away from it like, wow, this game looks freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the first things I played on the Xbox One X. But, finally, after playing it at PAX and then getting in our grubby little hands at release there, it was just a nice return to form for Assassin's Creed with some new stuff bolted on. Some stuff that people complained about and didn't work that in the series, like tailing missions and so forth, being totally deleted from existence.
Thank God.
A cool main character that was very likable.
Such a fucking cool
a very simple revenge plot storyline that wasn't too ridiculous. A modern day plot line that really didn't amount to anything and or affect the main gameplay at all. So
I feel like they should have just
it was just not necessary, but whatever.
I've sort of felt like that about a lot of the games, but they had too much of that stuff in some of the last couple of Assassin's Creeds. Yeah.
So I do like in this one, it was literally, I think you went modern times in this game like twice.
Yeah,
and
it's very 3 or 4, but yeah, it's for...
Okay, maybe it was more, but they were such short instances that it was
they weren't very long.
They were just
for sure.
I think they were more just set up for the bigger storyline that's going on, or like loose connection to the other games. That's about it. But and it's a freaking massive game.
It was their way, I think, that they could tie in the other games and actually the movie into it as well.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
But I thought that it was done well. Like it didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't like terrible. Like some of the past ones were just bad.
Yeah,
the modern day timelines were just bad.
Yeah,
RPG elements, leveling, skill tree, you name it. The stuff that they added to this game. There are some complaints that people out there are saying, well, some of the missions are very samey. We've got,
but what, I mean,
I know
my
what
response
giant
to that
open
would be
world game is not going to have instances like that, right?
Exactly. Like you could only figure out so many ways to not have, to have somebody come across and need your help doing something.
Yeah, after 50 hours, you are probably going to find some quest objectives tedious. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was only 10 hours long, you wouldn't have played it long enough for that to be a complaint.
I checked my game clock. I am well over 50 hours, and I have not beaten that game yet, and I don't know how.
My game clock seems screwed up because I was looking on. I forgot to look at my save file, but in the Uplay or whatever they call that,
the
Uplay app, I was unlocking some new rewards because I was going to talk about what you've been playing, but I went back and did the Trial of the Gods. This week is back.
Okay, yeah.
Since last we talked, I got to level 40.
Right.
I was looking in there and it said I had only played 48 hours, but I'm like, that's not right, because when I looked at it last time and we talked about it, I think I was at 54. So I'm like,
interesting.
I don't know where that number came from. I gotta look at my actual save file. I know I've dumped over 50 hours in that game, but
yeah, I played a whole bunch of it more this weekend, and like, I don't know, I feel like I keep dropping time into that game.
What level are you now? Did you get up there more?
37?
Well, you're getting there. Yeah, I beelined to 40 last time I played, and then I was just wrapping up quests in my quest log, and like I said, I did that Trials of the God, because I'm like, oh, I want to get the cool gear from this. I'm kind of annoyed that I missed the holiday event, because I wasn't quite ready for it, where all three of the gods were active at once.
Right, yeah.
The cool thing
How hard was it?
It wasn't that hard. It was just really long.
Yeah, just a lot of time.
It's
hacking away at him.
It's not like, no, not even. It's not like your typical boss fight. He's a giant. He's like a giant god, and basically it's essentially all ranged combat using your bow.
Right.
And then he shoots out like these big powers, and you're dodging them, and then there'll be a wave where like he spawns like little
minions or whatever.
Little minions that you have to kill, and then essentially they drop loot, which is basically just more arrows. And you're attacking like you're just dodging these attack patterns that aren't too hard to learn, and having 2 bows with health on hit and a sword that gets health on hit or health on kill. It was like literally impossible to die. I could lose a quarter or a third of my life, and it was just like whack, whack, whack. Oh, I'm back full life again.
Right.
Like I've got some pretty amazing weapons. But yeah, you take them down, and I got a sword, which is like, I guess, unique to him.
Oh, okay.
And then I think, and you get a bunch of experience, and it also contributes towards a community goal. Like there's a goal for like everyone contribute. If you do beat him, you contribute to this grand total. And then it unlocks like a special bonus that if you took part in the challenge, which is just simply beating him, you can go back and keep fighting him over and over again. I'd beat him a couple more times, thinking that maybe the gear was random, but I never got anything the second and third times. So I think I got to beat the other 2 gods, and I think when you beat all 3, I think you get a weapon from one, you get a shield from the other, and I think the third gives you the armor set. I think it's something like that. Or maybe it's 3 maybe it's 3 weapons, and after you beat the 3 of them, then you just get the armor set. Which I saw a picture of, which looks freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So I really want to get it now.
Like, honestly, Assassin's Creed Origins for me it came out of left field. I did not expect it.
I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't think it was going to be this good.
I have been so
after we played it at PAX. I was like, okay, this. I think this is going to be good.
You know, I had a blast with it at PAX, and I said, like, this might be the first time, like, in a long time that I get into an Assassin's Creed game. But you know what happens?
Sold 100%.
Well, that's the thing. How many times have we gone to PAX, played the new Assassin's Creed, and been excited about it, only to find out when it comes out that it is kind of a shitty Assassin's Creed game. And,
like Unity.
Like, honestly, like, we saw Unity, and we had one of the best demos of that game of probably any Assassin's Creed game.
We had the lead game designer, director, demo the game for us.
Yeah, like, it was incredible.
Like, holy crap, this game is amazing.
I was so excited about it, and then it came out, and I watched it, and it was a hot mess, and I'm like, oh, forget that noise. I don't need that in my life. So like, even after the great, like, you know, I shouldn't say great, but even after playing it at PAX and really enjoying my time with it, I was kind of meh, like, you know, and it turns out that luckily Ubisoft supplied us with a code, and I was able to play it, and like, oh my God, I would gladly pay for it. Like, that game is, like, honestly, that game is easily in my top. Well, it might be, for me, it might be my game of the year. Like, that game is incredible. I am honestly loving the crap out of it. Like I said, I keep putting time into it, and the game keeps going, and I'm okay with it. Like, I want to play other things, but I'm having so much of a good time with it. Like, and like, even my wife is like, oh, where are you at? What's going on? Like, she is even asking me about it, and like, it's honestly, that game took me. It came in and came out of left field for me in a way that I did not expect at all. Like the last Assassin's Creed game that I really got into was the second one.
Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood.
And honestly, for me, like, I like Bayek way more than I like Ezio. I liked Ezio.
Ezio, but
he was cool, but there's just something, and maybe it's where I'm at in my life now. I don't know, I'm an older, more mature person, and Bayek is just, I don't know, he's so relatable. Like, to me, he's such a wicked character, and, his wife is a wicked character, and like, they just, cool. It's just, they such a cool dynamic. The story is simple, but effective. I feel that they made him into a real character. He doesn't feel just like a video game trope. Mm-hmm. Like, he feels like a real person, and why he's there and what he's into, like why he's doing what he's doing. And like, and even a lot of the side stuff, like, a lot of times it's side quests. I mean, some of them aren't great. Some of them are incredible though. I've had some side quests that were great.
Yeah, there's some really cool side quests. Man, I've beaten the game. I've hitting level 40. I think I've gained a couple master levels now after you hit level 40.
Yeah.
And I think I still only done like 60% of what's in the game.
Yeah. Like, I have had to slow down on the side quests because like, I was like, man, like, if I don't stop doing side quests, I'm never going to finish this game. Like, there's other things I need to play. So I've kind of set aside some of the side quests because I figure, you know what, if worst comes to worst, I can always come back later and do these. But at least for now, like, I've started to, I went and talked to Cleopatra, and I hit that point that you were saying, like, oh, like, are you sure you want to do this? You're not going to be able to come back.
Yeah, which isn't the end. It's just a huge chunk of the storyline progression.
Exactly, which is what I'm kind of getting into now.
It's kind of deceiving because it kind of seemed like, oh, is this the end? But really, it's like, well, if you are wanting to do side shit, you're not going to be able to do any of it for a while. So if you're like,
make sure your level,
you want to level up that
appropriate,
item,
right?
Or get a new sword, do that shit now.
Yeah,
because we're not coming back here for a while.
Yeah, and also on the weekend when I was out, I ran into elephants.
Oh yeah,
and got myself run over. Like, I got my ass handed to me by a couple elephants. Like, they're badass.
Yeah, I think that health on hit freaking warrior bow. Yeah, I think it's broken. Because those fights did not seem as hard as they probably should have been.
Trying to remember with the elephants, they just ran me over was the problem. I didn't.
Oh, yeah, they do a fuck ton of damage.
Oh man, yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, no, it's honestly that game has impressed me in ways I did not expect. Yeah. And in a year with Zelda and Super Mario Odyssey and some of these other games that are like incredible, it was the game that for me I keep coming back to when, like, for me at least, I dropped off of Zelda and I haven't really gone back. Whereas like here I am, like, since Assassin's Creed comes out, and like pretty much every weekend I'm still playing Assassin's Creed.
Obviously we're going to talk about Zelda here, but
yeah.
We'll have some words about that, but Assassin's Creed, I also I maxed out all my stuff, all my gear.
Yeah,
I'm all yellow everything.
Yeah, I'm almost there. I've got 2 things, I think.
Yeah, I just finished
2 of the crafting things.
I finished the hidden blade and my what was the other one? The bracer, I think.
I think my hidden blade's done.
I just ended up buying the gems or the crystals or whatever. Because I'm like, I have all this money, but I'm not going to buy anything with it. I'm like, I'll just buy these crystals, and then I don't have to do enemy camps to get them.
Oh,
and actually, I was kind of pissed off because after I did it all, there wasn't even a trophy.
Oh,
I figured there'd be an achievement for
maxing out all of
your
those.
Yeah. But
and I mean, there is an achievement for only having legendary gear.
There is an achievement for having all your gear and all the other slots be like top
legendary
tier, but nothing for like your craftable, like upgradable, like your armor, basically.
Yeah, I know. That's interesting.
Anyway,
So yeah. Anyways, Assassin's Creed Origins.
Was that me or you who started that?
That was you.
Okay.
That started
so back to you, Dane.
I've got Super Mario Odyssey on the Switch.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else. I guess
I can.
That's going to be that's your game. Never mind.
Well, we could talk about that.
No, it doesn't matter. We can talk about Mario.
Yeah, let's talk about Mario.
Yeah, Mario
Game's
Odyssey.
real good. Game's really good. The game's better than it has any right to be. I would say it's probably my favorite Mario since Mario 64.
Oh God, yeah, easily. This game, for me, literally put a smile on my face and reminded me of why I started playing video games in the first place. Solid gameplay and just fun. Just fun. Just a freaking fun game.
It's a blast.
There's no reason for the weird levels you're in or the creatures you're messing with or whatever. It's just, it's gameplay over everything else, even though this game is oozing so much style and substance. Such a tight controlling Mario game. Probably the most amount of Mario moves that he's capable of. That like jumping, sliding, rolling, hat throwing, bouncing, chaining, throw bounces. It's just a freaking pleasure to just play. It feels so good. And like I said, it put a smile on my face every time I was playing it.
And it's an easy game to jump into for 10 minutes. Grab a moon or two.
Grab a moon or two and jump out. It is, and it's like, the Switch is like the best handheld console ever. But then it's also not a handheld console because you're playing it on your TV when you get home.
With a proper controller.
If
I had one complaint, it's that I still do hate the motion controls, but
they're not
that are in there.
They're not
that I wish they weren't, but for some stuff they kind of are. But yeah. But honestly, it's an incredible Mario game. The weird ass art design in that game is the one other area that I go like, what the fuck was that all about?
There's so many the worlds are so different from each other.
It's the enemies,
some of the brutals,
super realistic stuff mixed with Mario, and that stuff is super kind of jarring. And then you go to other worlds that are very Super Mario, like there are kind of what you would expect.
Then you go to worlds that are nothing like anything you've ever seen in a Mario game before.
Definitely not.
Let alone new mechanics. Literally, this game is so different than any other Mario before because there's no power-ups. There's just enemies you control. And I think
things you control.
Yeah, I think there's like
sometimes it's not even enemies.
I think there's over 50 enemy types that all play differently and do different things throughout the campaign of this game. There's that many, which is mind-boggling.
Yeah,
and just all the different gameplay styles, just from that mechanic. Above and beyond just controlling Mario, all the enemies you control and how uniquely they all play and different aspects and puzzles you need to figure out with them or levels.
Oh, for sure.
I think the only complaint you could possibly have about this game is the mini bosses, the brutals, are pretty dumb looking.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone likes them, but I don't know if that was the whole intent.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't help but feel like in a weird way if they would have just used, say, the Koopa Kids.
Yeah, there's some of the weakest designed Mario or Nintendo characters.
Yeah, and they kind of don't feel like they should be there either, in my opinion.
They're just kind of ugly.
Doesn't feel right.
But I think maybe that's what they're aiming for. They just wanted these ugly creatures that you just wanted to kill. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Like that, or they felt that it just would have probably broken the internet if they used Koopa Kids. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Can you imagine? Like everybody would have just lost their minds. They would have been like, "Oh my god, it's Mario 3 again!" Ah! Like that would have been that. Yeah.
Fantastic freaking game. If you don't own a Switch, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, between Zelda and Mario, you should own a Switch.
I think you need a Switch and a gaming PC, or a Switch and either console, depending on your exclusives.
Yeah.
And then I think you've got a good swath of the gaming scene covered. But the Switch is, man, the thing's selling like hotcakes. Nintendo's like freaking printing money right now. And it just seems to be like they can't stop. And it's not even, the first year, it hasn't even been out a year.
I know.
It came out in March. It's already outsold the Wii U's lifetime. Not that was very many, but
no, I mean the Wii U I feel like is almost going to be a collector's item one day just because they sold so few of them.
I don't think the Switch will continue this trajectory, but it has trajectory. It's outpacing PS2, which is the PlayStation 2 is the highest selling, I think, console.
The PS2, to my knowledge, has sold more consoles in its lifetime than any other console has. Currently, the Switch is slightly outpacing the PS4, which was the fastest selling console of all time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
At least initially, which is huge. So
right now, the internet is on edge, just wondering. There's so many rumors right now that Nintendo's supposed to announce a Nintendo Direct for like sometime this week or next week for January. And literally, the Nintendo Twitter account is trolling so hard right now that the fanboys are like just
losing their minds.
They're losing their minds, and Nintendo's all over it. They sent out, like, they've been doing these weird tweets and just been like, everyone's like, what is going on? And Nintendo's just loving it. The fans are just going mental.
Oh, and like, I absolutely love what Nintendo's doing with the Switch, but yet that brings me back to, what the fuck is Nintendo doing with the Switch? There's so many what the fuck were they thinking moments with the Switch. They haven't figured out their online at all. You're still using friend codes. Their stupid Nintendo app for voice chat. Like, there's so many things that I just look at and I go like, what?
They just scratch your head. You're just like, what
are you doing? If this was Microsoft or Sony or anybody else, we would all just be, it would just be the biggest kerfuffle you've ever seen. But because it's Nintendo, we all just kind of shake our heads, go, what the fuck? And then go, well, I guess that's Nintendo, and move on. It's like, and this, and part of it is because the Switch is so good and the games are so good that we want them, we want them to do so much better, and yet they're being so Nintendo about it. It's painful. Anyways, so yeah, we'll see what happens with Nintendo Directs and upcoming games and such this year, but
yeah,
it's like the most frustrating thing ever, and yet the most incredible thing ever. It's like, I love my Switch. I love the games that have come out on it.
Could you imagine if they
got their shit together?
This is Nintendo, so they won't. They won't. It's like
they said, "Hey, we figured out.
Hey,
here's cloud saves. There's your virtual console.
Yeah.
You don't
online.
need a stupid chat app. Your Nintendo account is now your Nintendo account. You don't need friend codes
online.
Like, oh my god, everybody would just they'd lose their minds. It'd be insane.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That's what I'm hoping for. But
yeah, me too. So, but yeah, maybe. Super Mario Odyssey, amazing. So much wonder and excitement and fun. And like you said, that game, I swear every time I play it, it puts a smile on my face in some way or another. Like, it's whimsical. How's that?
Yeah. Is this next title your game of the year for you?
No, actually, I think
Okay.
I think this one was for me.
Assassin's Creed. Okay.
Yeah.
We're not going in any particular order.
No,
but,
we're not.
How about you talk about Battlechasers?
Thanks, Rick. No, I'm just kidding. Battlechasers was amazing. It is incredible. It has some of the best art I've ever seen in a game.
Yeah, it's a fantastic looking game.
It is gorgeous. It is an absolute blast to play. I think dropped almost 50 hours into Battlechasers.
50 is like the magic number.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Well, I dropped roughly that on the PC, and then I stopped playing because I wanted to get the Switch version and play through it on the Switch. But I'm at a point now where I know the Switch version is coming. They did release some stuff saying that like the issues that they were seeing have been fixed, and they had to send it to the presses essentially to actually get made and to get sent out and all that good stuff.
So it's close.
It is. It's very close. I believe they were saying something about February probably, which is super cool. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to wait that long. I think I might just have to finish it on the PC and play it again on my Switch. Honestly, it feels... So it's a turn-based RPG. It's a
JRPG, but made in North America.
Yeah, and the thing though is that it feels like you remember those old JRPGs, but without any of the annoyances that you remember from those old ones. None of this whole random battles from characters that you can't see. You see all the characters.
Yeah, you see all the enemies.
You see the enemies on the map. Just all those little things that like we've come to know about video games since back then when, we were playing a ton of those JRPGs on, at least for me anyways, on the PS1 and things like that. So it's like, it's got all those quality of life improvements that you would hope that a JRPG nowadays would have. And it's beautiful. The hand-drawn animation is incredible. The art style is just, I love it. I mean, I fell in love with that comic book when I was a kid because of the art style. And this game is, you're freaking playing that comic book. It is incredible. And I love the world. I love like the lore is super awesome. I've fallen in love with these characters before, and now to see them come to life and be voiced well, it's incredible. And now that I'm talking about it and thinking about playing it,
you're like, I need to go play.
I'm like, man, I need to go play it. Now I want to just finish it. Like, oh my God.
So I only got in like a few, maybe 3 or 4 hours. I didn't get in as deep as you, but like in any other year, this game could have easily been in my top 10. But literally there's like 20 amazing games this year. Yeah. And only so much room. I like what I played, and I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Well, you obviously still played more, but it's like, I think I'm just going to get it again on the Switch and then play it there because it'll be easier to play on the road for me. Yeah. The one thing I do really like from the time I have spent with it, even more so than Persona 5, every battle in that game, they are very strategy heavy. There's much more strategy to the turn-based battles in that than in, say, Persona or even any other turn-based RPG I've played in a long time.
Oh yeah, if you're not careful, you can very easily get your world rocked.
Yeah, there's a lot of buff and debuff management and stacking effects.
Absolutely,
that I find that there's quite a depth to the turn-based combat in that game.
Oh yes,
more so than most in the genre.
And it's not overly difficult, but it is not easy by any means. But it feels fair in a weird way. But yeah, like I said, part of it for me is I loved the comic books. I was a huge fan of the comic books.
Yeah,
and so
I don't have that connection, but
totally. And so for me, part of it as well, and I have to take that into account. But for me personally, part of it is definitely loving those characters already, and that art style, and the fact that they didn't change any of that is a huge plus for me. And the fact that the game is huge. It's big. It's a, it's not a short, quick little thing. Like, they made a real game out of it. And since they've released it, they've also been improving it, which is huge as well. There's been little tweaks here and there, and some of them are bigger tweaks. So, I feel like if you're going to be playing it now, you're going to definitely be playing a better version of that game than when it first came out. Just some of the quality of life stuff that they've managed to sort of, they initially had planned
big patches.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I truly feel like, they're not asking a ton of cash for it, and it is really worth playing. Like, if you're an RPG fan, it's like, go pick that up. It is so good. And yeah, honestly, if it wasn't for me personally, if it wasn't for Assassin's Creed Origins, that would probably be in my game of the year. So.
Yeah, I like what I've played, but I need to go back to it. So,
yes,
I'd say if I had a game of the year, which I just have had 10 of them.
Of course.
One that
these are.
Really
in no particular order
that really edged everything out is got to be Zelda Breath of the Wild on the Switch. A fantastic reimagining of the Zelda franchise, yet being totally familiar and old at the same time. A little bit of Dark Souls, a little bit of crafting, a huge open world, and really a game with very little to zero handholding. And
it's true.
That the biggest strength and fault of this game is that for some people who can't find their own adventure or figure out what they need to do, probably I've seen a few people that are very split, and they're like, no, that game is terrible. Like, there's nothing to do. But yet there is so much to do. But I think it really boils down to how you are as a player, whether you find the depth and all the rewards in the game. Like, the game rewards you for exploration. Besides a few waypoints for some major story elements to get you going, a lot of the side stuff and even some of the main stuff is just not on your map. It's a clue through conversation by characters in a town. It's like you have to find the secrets. You have to dig up the treasure, essentially. And there's so much hidden, beautiful stuff in this game. But, it really depends on your playstyle. Some people completely missed it, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. For me, Zelda was a game that is amazing. Like, I'm not going to argue that game's not great. It is. For me personally, it was 90% of the way there, but because of a couple little things, I think those just started to nag on me the more I played it, to the point where I think that's part of the reason why I bounced off of it a little bit. Eventually, I played a lot of time. Like, I put a lot of time into it. I enjoyed the shit out of what I've played. I still plan on going back, and it's still loaded on my Switch. And I'll still probably continue my journey on there, but they're one of them. And I know that some people are like, oh, it's less of a problem or whatever, but the weapon durability, I understand why they did it. I still don't think that it was a good decision. I still think that was not a great choice.
I think that should have been tied to difficulty. Like, maybe if you wanted to play like a normal or easy mode, that there would be no weapon durability.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was an interesting mechanic. But
it is an interesting mechanic, but there is definitely nothing more frustrating than being in a situation and breaking all of your weapons.
Oh yeah, it wasn't too hard because of the no hold handing and hints of like, you shouldn't be here because you're probably not strong enough for these enemies.
Yeah.
And finding out the hard way by destroying every weapon you have in your environment and then dying.
It's frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're dead and all your weapons are gone.
Absolutely.
And the stamina thing, I go back and forth on. I get why it's there, but at the same time, there's moments where it's like, I don't want to have to spend 15 minutes making food and shit so that I can get stamina and like, so that when I climb to the top of this thing and while I'm halfway there, then it starts to rain and then I start to lose a bunch of stamina because, and that's a sort of a separate thing. I think the sliding down the mountain in the rain is super frustrating. But it's like, it's such a love-hate thing for me because I still think that game is incredible. It's just, there's a couple of those little things that for me, like they really did take away from it for me. And it was so frustrating for me because I felt like it was so close to being one of the greatest games I'd ever played. And it was just like those little things every time it made me realize like how close it was, which I think made me frustrated more because I felt that it was so close to being there, but yet it just didn't quite hit the mark for me personally.
Yeah. For me, it hit on every note. The wonder and the awe and the whimsy and the discovery.
Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. That game has probably some of the best exploration in any game because you could lose hours and hours just wandering around, and it's like you climb to the top of the hill and you're like, ooh, I wonder what that little glint thing is over there. Oh, that little patch of trees is in kind of an interesting formation. I should go check that out. And not only did it look kind of interesting, chances are there probably was something there. It might not have been big. Maybe it was just a Korok seed or whatever, but there was almost always something there. And that's important because it never felt like they were wasting my time. Even when it felt like I was wasting a bunch of time climbing this stupid mountain and sliding halfway down and wasting all this time, like cooking all this crap so that I could get stamina or some status thing. Once I got to the top, there was almost always something there, or when I did get there, there was a place that I wanted to go from there. And it always felt like honestly, the exploration in that game is incredible.
Oh yeah, it was top notch, and for me, that was one of my favorite things of the game.
Yeah,
I did all the divine beasts. What do they call those other fucking things? The tombs? They're not tombs. What are they?
Oh, the
shrines.
Shrines.
There's like 120 or 130. I did over half of them. I didn't do them all.
There's a lot.
That's on my shit list. But like, I beat the game. I loved every second of it. I've been wanting to go back, but there's been too many goddamn good games. Again, just an insane year. But man,
I know. Did I mention I have Nier Automata sitting on my desk in a wrapping for crying out loud?
The music, the Zelda. Just the franchise, the history as a Nintendo fanboy that I am. So many freaking checkboxes were hit with this game. And for me, it's probably my game of the year above everything else.
Yeah.
So that's about it. I got a couple of honorable mentions. Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. It was awesome story. Shooting,
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard.
It's competent.
I've heard the story moments in that game are just
the story moments in that game are so unreal, unbelievable, gruesome, gut-wrenching, infuriating. Like, you will experience every range of emotion with that game, as long as you're not a robot. I suggest it when it's on Steam sale or something, like, which it will eventually, because the past Wolfensteins have always gotten really good sales as they get a little older. Mm-hmm. Definitely, you should put it on your list of titles to pick up when it's on sale, because to experience the campaign alone, it's like, there's some, one day I would like to talk to you about some of the moments. Oh yeah, play it on easy and just blaze through it. Yeah. There's just some shit that's like, they just did that. Holy shit. And some stuff you've never seen or even thought about ever. Period.
Right. Wow.
Like, what the fuck head scratchers that are like, what?
I didn't know they could do that.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool, which is funny because it's where some of the stuff's going to get stolen in movies. Golf Story was really great on Switch. Cool little indie title. South Park, again, solid entry into the franchise. Uncharted Lost Legacy, any other year would be a game of the year, probably.
There's a game I don't know how I missed. I honestly need to grab that game.
It came out in August. Yeah. I know. It snuck under the radar.
I know. And I keep forgetting about it, and I've heard that it is just amazing. And I heard I need to play it. Like, it's
the Fire Emblem the Uncharted games on 3DS. And to be honest, I just haven't played enough, but I think Dead Cells would easily replace Metroid Returns on my top 10, and it's just I haven't played it enough to put it in my list fairly, because I literally just got into it in the last couple of weeks.
Right.
But yeah. There are more. There's probably I have Neo, I have Nier. Those are two other games that have got that. I think Nier has won Game of the Year for some outlets.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure. So that's a huge glaring, that very well could have been my game of the year, but I just didn't happen to get to it. I barely played it. I think I was going to
say you started
I started it. Yeah. I think I did the first level or mission.
Yeah.
A game that
and it's a game that has multiple endings, and you got to play through it multiple
it has a crazy story, multiple endings, and is unreal. The people who love it.
And even people that don't really like those types of games played it and went, well, holy shit. So,
yeah.
Which is saying something.
I think because we were running quite long, that we're going to skip what you've been playing.
Fine.
And we'll do the news and everything else, because we can talk about that stuff next week.
That sounds fair.
Does that sound fair? That sounds fair. So, yeah, that's our Game of the Year 2017. And with that, let's get into some news. We already talked about this first story, so there's nothing to talk about here.
Yep.
Nintendo Switch is fastest selling home console ever in US.
Selling fast.
Selling like hotcakes.
Really fast.
Yeah, I don't know what else to add. We talked about it already. The Switch is dope. Go get one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Paladins announces Battle Royale game mode.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, wow. Who would have seen this coming? Nobody, because who the hell thought Paladins would add a Battlegrounds mode?
I still can't get over the fact that
you actually played this game, right? Is that right?
Yeah,
you did. I remember.
I did.
It's the hero-based shooter with card deck building, right? Was that what it was?
Hero-based card shooting, also with some MOBA aspects.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the crazy thing. The way they mesh it all together is wild. You have cards which are sort of like your loadout, and then it's like a hero-based shooter. So depending on, obviously, the characters have various abilities and such, and then there's objectives. So there's an objective and such for the maps. So very much you would expect, similar to I guess, Overwatch. But then there's these crazy MOBA aspects where you have minions that spawn, and yeah, it's very interesting and quite.
You played it in beta, right?
I played it in beta. Well, I don't know if it's still sort of officially released yet, or if it's in quote-unquote early access.
This is from your homies that make Smite, so...
Yeah, it's from Hi-Rez Studios. And so now they're announcing Battle Royale game mode called Paladins Battlegrounds. And it is literally a 100-player mode. It will be free to play. This is a little bit different than some of the other ones because it's going to be teams of players. It doesn't say how many players per team. So I'm not sure if there's multiple teams of 5 or if it's going to be 2 teams of 50. They don't really say. It just says teams of players will fight over loot. So apparently there's going to be a whole bunch of drops. So players are going to want to rush and get loot, as encroaching fog corrals them into ever tighter skirmishes, and apparently the last team standing wins. So, and apparently your mounts will also be usable. So in the game, there's currently mounts that you can pull up in a MOBA, and so yeah. So that's kind of wild. And of course, they're releasing some new heroes and various other things to go along with it. All in all, I did not see that coming.
Nobody saw it coming. I doubt I will try it, but who knows? Maybe it turns out to be awesome. What's more surprising too now is that it's not out till later this year, which means it's going to be out later this year with the 3 or 4 or 5 other versions of Battleground game modes that are going to pop up undoubtedly.
Yeah,
This is going to be the new thing, man. Call of Duty is going to have it. Guaranteed.
Yeah, you think so?
Why wouldn't they?
I don't know.
I guess it just depends if their engine can handle it or not, or at least Battlefield would have this. Seems like a no-brainer for DICE and Battlefield. They've been...
I don't know, man. They can't seem to get more than 64 players in a map as it is. Can you imagine one of their damn maps with 100 players?
Who knows? That seems like a no-brainer. We'll see.
I would think, but like I said, we seem to be getting smaller in Battleground or in Battlefield matches, not bigger.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
This next one's kind of I'm excited about. Burnout Paradise Remaster is not necessarily a remaster. We don't know. There's rumor that it's getting a re-release on PS4 and Xbox in Japan. There was a retail listing in Brazil saying something about March 1st or whatever. Mm-hmm. Note being that HD Remaster is not in the Brazilian listing, only in the Japanese listing. EA has not confirmed or denied. So... yeah, I guess.
So in other words, this might be a thing.
March is
maybe not.
Yeah, it seems pretty solid because every website reported on this. I like Burnout Paradise. I think it's a back compat game on Xbox One, I believe. Which
didn't they shut the servers down for that game a while ago?
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Oh, well, if that's the case, then that's lame.
Yeah, which was partly why a lot of people were kind of upset initially, because a lot of the online stuff is what makes that game incredible.
Burnout Paradise is dope, and I would be happy to get... I would prefer a new version, but hey, if it's a remaster, I'll take it. I guess we'll find out soon.
Fair enough.
Thinking about releasing a video game, Dayne?
Well, I mean...
getting a loan, selling your home, selling all your assets, and betting big on that Battle Royale game mode that you dreamt of that nobody's doing?
Well, I mean, I figure there's only a few games getting released on Steam every year, right? So
only about 7,672 were released on Steam in 2017, according to this report.
That's essentially a lot of games.
Something like 21 games a day on average were released on Steam.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So, that's why there's so many layoffs and studio closures and all kinds of nonsense in the gaming industry. There's There's a lot of content.
Wow, that's honestly crazy. Because last year, so in 2016,
do they have the numbers here? I assume they do, right?
Yeah, so in 2016, they released 38% of all the games on Steam.
Oh, that's right.
Were released.
We talked about that last year.
Exactly, just in 2016. And that was 4,207 games were released in 2016. This almost doubles that number. That's crazy. Like, really crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like,
man,
there has to hit a certain point where, like, and I mean, even now, I guess, like, is there really that? I don't know. Like, that to me just seems like, I get what Steam is doing, but
making money.
I guess. I mean, they're taking 30% off the top, so that's just like, that's such a big number. Like, how are people finding games? But I mean, I guess it's happening. Like, look at PUBG, right? That was a game that got released on there and kind of nobody knew about it, and then it blew up, and now 30 million people are playing it.
Yeah,
so
I'm pretty sure they're well past that number now.
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't heard any stories in a little while, so maybe the Steam's slowed down a little bit, but
I don't know.
Yeah, if you're into making games, think long and hard before selling all your Bitcoin and taking out a loan from the bank.
Yeah,
and unless your idea or gameplay is like very unique and proven, and maybe you'll, be the next player unknown and rolling in the dough.
Anything's possible.
These next few stories are basically the big stories from CES, gaming related stories. They're, CES, Consumer Electronics Show. There might be a few other announcements after we've recorded, because the show is still going on, but I think the big stuff's already out. NVIDIA and Intel and Razer, I think, had their little press briefings or whatever you want to call them. Interesting one is that NVIDIA has announced big format gaming displays, basically 65-inch, 120 hertz G-Sync capable 4K monitors.
Monitors?
Yeah, they're basically...
It's insane. PCs. Like, honestly, what's this thing got to cost? Like, nobody's mentioned anything about cost.
I'm sure
but
the cost is
65-inch 4K gaming display with 120 hertz and G-Sync. This thing is going to be like $10,000.
No, and HDR.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be $10,000 for crying out loud. Like, I don't know. I guess the whole thing here is that there's going to be some early adopters that are ballers. They're going to go out and buy them, and then it'll trickle down.
Not to mention,
and in 5 years, I might be able to afford one.
Shield Android TV is also integrated in these sets.
Right. So it's got the built-in NVIDIA Shield Android TV setup on there. That's actually pretty smart.
Had I not bought my 4K TV and these were not very expensive, I would consider putting this in my office. Who knows? Maybe one day I will replace my fancy Samsung with one of these, but once you get past 55, these screens costs jump through the roof. So like you said, I'm going to guess this is not going to be fucking for the faint of heart. The thing that kills me is all the press images I've seen of this TV is like they have a keyboard and mouse literally sitting in front of it like it was a 24-inch monitor. That is way too fucking close for a screen that big.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
I would feel like you would get sick. That's like one of my biggest complaints of when we go to conventions. We're always like shoved into like
here's a 32-inch machine and you're right in front of it.
Not even. They're like 55 even. They're like huge HD TVs, which are nice.
Yeah.
But it's like you're 2 feet away from it. It's like, it's kind of dizzying and actually really annoying to play stuff that close. That's one of my pet peeves.
I totally agree. I also want to point out that they should have just called this big fucking gaming displays.
Instead of big format?
Yeah.
Well, BFGD, I guess you can So it's cool. Is it necessary? I don't know, but hey, why the fuck
It's like
not?
anything at CES. It's that whole like, ooh, it's super neat and super cool, but who knows whether or not it'll ever trickle down.
We'll report back on pricing when we have an update.
Yeah, exactly.
HTC announced the Vive Pro headset. It's higher resolution. They added another camera. They integrated high quality earbuds. And then, of course, the really big news here is the Vive Pro wireless adapter.
So they are, I do want to point out, they are releasing the wireless adapter separately.
And it will work with the old one as well.
And, yeah, exactly. So it is an additional cost. I'm sure they're going to release a bundle with like the headset and the wireless adapter, but
no pricing announced for either device.
Well, that's the other thing I gotta wonder with this is like the current one is still pretty pricey. Like
it's still like $7.99 Canadian.
Yeah, like are they gonna drop the original one down?
Oh, I'm sure they'll have to blow them out.
And then put this one kind of back where the original one was, or is this going to be like $1,500 American and then keep the, you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of curious about that. I do like the fact that they've added the cameras on the front, so you can hit those and actually see what's going on around you, which is super nice versus having to pull the headset off all the time anytime you wanted to like say.
Yeah, they used to only have the one camera, and you could do that, but it was kind of weird because it was like Cyclops style, so I don't think it worked very well.
Apparently, it's much lighter as well, so it feels a lot nicer to use.
If the pricing is right, it definitely makes me happy that I don't own a PC virtual reality headset yet, and this is the exact reason why I didn't, because I knew this shit was coming.
It's pretty amazing. That's a pixel increase on the headset of pixel-wise. It's a 78% increase.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge. That thing's got a screen that's 615 PPI.
I know Oculus did Oculus announce anything at CES? I didn't see. I didn't look very hard.
They haven't.
No, Oculus has kind of been on the lowdown. I know they announced a new headset, revolutionary features, and they were talking about wireless and stuff, but it was all huff and fluff and like PR video, but nothing like.
Well, the HTC stuff, they're working with Intel to use their the Intel wireless HDMI standard that they have to utilize it for this particular thing.
And people are playing this thing at CES, so
yeah. So I mean, I don't know when we'll actually see a release on it, but hey, it's on the way. So. Super cool. Makes me super excited. I just wish they would all come down to out of the stratosphere as far as price goes. So.
Yeah. This next story is Razer showed off their Project Linda, which is the laptop. Turns your phone into a laptop, basically. I think haven't we kind of seen this before?
We have, but never implemented this way. So they like. I won't lie, it's a super novel idea. So normally
it looks cool.
So in their particular case, what they've done is they've built a chassis with a huge battery and a nice screen and keyboard, etc., etc. It looks almost identical to a Razer Blade Stealth laptop. And instead of having a trackpad, the idea is that your phone, or in this particular case, their Razer phone, actually slots in instead of the trackpad. So you actually plug your phone in where your touchpad would be, and you use that as your touchpad or your trackpad when you're using the laptop. And the laptop uses your phone, because the phone has 8 gigs of RAM. It's also got a Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 in it. So it's got, it's got enough juice. Like those are the internals that upcoming Qualcomm embedded laptops are going to be releasing running Windows. So it's really interesting. I don't know. I mean, Razer likes to kind of bust out these really interesting
It wasn't
concepts.
last year the laptop with the screens 3 screens that came out of it.
Yep. Yeah. And then the year before that was Project Christine, which was the like super dope looking computer that was all modular, and you'd buy like whatever modules you were going to do and you'd just plug them in, and you would essentially buy the chassis, and whenever you wanted you could like swap out for, I'm going to replace my processor, and so you'd buy a different module and plug it in. Super neat looking, but never came to fruition. But hey, it's cool and it gets them in the spotlight. They also announced their wireless mouse and trackpad. Mouse and mouse pad. And what's really neat is that the mouse pad is an inductive mouse pad. So you plug the mouse pad in and it supplies power to the actual mouse itself. And the mouse itself essentially doesn't even have a battery or anything in it. And it just uses the power from the mouse pad. And so you've got, for all intents and purposes, a wireless mouse that never needs to be charged. You just have to use it on their mouse pad. And apparently it works really well. It's got some sort of, not necessarily a battery, but it's got a capacitor in it of some kind, because it does hold a very small charge. It's like 10, 15 seconds of power to keep things flowing properly, so that when you're, moving the mouse, if you're pulling it too high off of the mouse pad, you're not just completely losing signal. It looks really cool, and I've been reading some really neat reviews of it, and they're saying like it's pretty cool technology. Of course, right now it's very expensive, but that is a real product that they are selling. So but stuff like that I find really interesting, because like I kind of hate wireless mice, but at the same time, like if somebody was to make a wireless mouse that was not really having an issue with a dongle somewhere else because it's talking to the mouse pad underneath it, like we're talking, there wouldn't even be any lag. Like it would be instantaneous. So that kind of stuff is super interesting. So I'm very curious to see where that technology goes moving forward, because I know Logitech released a similar product, but they went a little bit differently, because in their product, the mouse itself is a wireless mouse, with batteries and such inside it, but it uses inductive charging, so that while you're using it on the mouse pad, it's essentially charging the mouse. But if you wanted, it also has, like you would expect, like a battery like a mouse has, so you could still use it for 40 hours or whatever it is without the mouse pad at all. So it almost uses the mouse pad like a big wireless charging mat, and while you're using the mouse, it's being charged all the time. So it's kind of it's a very similar idea between the two companies, but it's implemented a little bit differently. So. Yeah,
that laptop though looks really cool.
Yeah,
if that thing came to existence, I'd be all over that.
I think it's hard in this particular case, because you're building one peripheral for essentially their phone, and they just released a phone which, by all accounts, seems to be pretty good, but it seems to have some flaws. And so to release a product just for that...
Yeah, no, that dock needs to work with any and every Android phone.
Exactly, and like, I think that's going to be...
The dock, that's easy. They make the dock... adjustable for width and like length, and some phones will work better with it because of their form factor than others, but
I don't think you're going to be able to make it work with all.
I think so, because you could just make the USB connector slide up and down.
Well, my point being was that not all phones are going to be powerful enough to run it. Like that's part of what was cool about their whole thing, is that initially when they announced the Razer phone, 8 gigs of RAM kind of seemed like overkill, but if you were hooking up to a laptop like that, you would want 8 gigs of RAM, because now you're actually running like a full-size screen and other things, and so that would make sense. Whereas like most phones have like 4 gigs, right?
Let's just say if this thing becomes a reality,
like that,
and it's cool, I might own a Razer phone. because that thing looks rad. That thing looks rad.
No, it's just super cool. It's like I've said before, man, like there's, I think a lot of their products are overpriced like crazy, but they really are they're the Apple of the PC world. Like they make some dope shit that is really pretty and well built. And they're definitely killing it as far as like their designers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
I think we're going to save the rest of the stuff for next week.
I think that's a good idea.
None of it is very time sensitive. We were going to talk about the Overwatch League and Smite World Championships.
Well, I could talk quickly about the Smite World Championships just because by next week it'll be useless.
Okay, yeah, talk about that.
It's my yearly Smite. I sit down and I watch the finals of the World Championships. They're playing for $1 million plus, which is pretty cool. This year it was Team Rival against E United, and the North American team, which is E United, they won. They took it. They won the first heat, and then Rival came back, won the second. I thought it was going to be a 1-1-1 and then maybe a sudden death, but E United after that just like came back and they dominated the next two games. It was dope. It was really cool. I don't watch a ton of esports, but I really do enjoy watching the Smite World Championships every year. And it's funny because even my wife gets into it, and she's seen enough of it now to kind of know what's going on, and she kind of can tell like the different plays and stuff, and it's cool. It's neat. There were some really good games, and it's like anything watching that like high level play like that. Man, you just, I cannot get over the ways that some of those guys just, they play it, watching them and stuff. It's just like, oh my God, the timing and things is just, it's incredible. It's honestly
when you
crazy.
know the game and you understand the skills required. Esports is really exciting. Like when we watch the League of Legends stuff at PAX and we talk about it all the time, that felt like we were at a hockey game. Like,
oh, totally.
That was like crowd going crazy. We thought it was dope. We were super into it. We were standing up and cheering, and like that was rad. So I
and that's the crazy thing. Like my wife, she's never played Smite. But like one of the cool things about Smite that's good from a spectator perspective is it's easy enough and it's kind of slow enough that she can see what's going on. It's straightforward enough. Okay, we got to take the towers, then you take the Phoenix, then you can take the main guy. These are the two teams. One team is coming from one side, one team's coming from the other side. Like they do a really good job of when they're casting it and even talking about it and stuff. Like she doesn't know all the nuances about all the characters and everything, obviously, because she hasn't played it. But she can watch it with me, and that's one of the things that I find really interesting is that she can get into it even though she's never played it, and she doesn't even necessarily know a lot of the nuances. It's very easily watched and very easily kind of explained to somebody, which I think is really important for esports, because you have to be able to bring other people in that aren't necessarily like super interested in it and be able to explain it to them briefly. And again, it's like anything, like you can kind of explain to somebody basketball, like put the ball in the net. Like, yes, there's other rules and offsides and like et cetera, but like ultimately it's distilled down to like just put the ball in the net. And with like Smite and a lot of the MOBAs, I think that's one of the things that makes it such a good spectator sport, is that at the end of the day, kill the enemy's, tower, or in Smite's case, kill the enemy's Titan. Like, you're gonna kill all the other stuff in the way so that you can kill the Titan. But ultimately, that's the goal, right? And it's interesting. We'll talk more about it with some of the Overwatch League stuff, because I've got kind of some thoughts about both of them for next week.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It's always a good game. So
yeah, that's awesome. I wish I could get into that. I haven't been able to get into esports.
And like I said, that is really the only one for me that I've kind of gotten into. And I mean, I don't follow it super close, and for me, it's like usually the last weekend because they do the Hi-Res Expo, which now, of course, includes like Paladins games and like their own card game, and like they've got multiple games going on now. But Smite's obviously their big one, and I usually tune in a bit on Saturday to see some of the semifinals, and then I tune in on Sunday to watch the finals, which is usually a few hours. So, and that's kind of the extent of it. It's hard, and again, we can talk about this a bit more later, but I just find it's hard with esports. It's a bit difficult because the teams are constantly changing. Like the teams that won last year's matches, I don't even know if they were in this tournament this year. And the same thing for the previous year. Like that's the one thing I think that esports needs to sort out. Like if you could figure out how to do esports in a similar vein to, like Overwatch is trying to do, with teams that are there that people care about versus just the teams go away all the time and they get merged into this team, and then that team changed its name and it's now this team. And like, if you could figure that out and actually like truly figure it out, I think you would have gold. I think you'd be able to like sell esports to people and they would care about it and you would make a shitload of money. Because it could go mainstream then versus just like these, like I just think about some of the big esports teams, they were in Smite and now they're not. And I don't know if that's because some of those esports teams are no longer around, period. And some of them are. Like it's this weird thing, right? And it's just kind of the nature of, hey, me and 5 friends are really good at this game. We're going to enter some tournaments. And then the next thing you know, they've got a team name and they're getting sponsored. Yeah. And maybe they win for a year or two and they do really well. And then they decide, this isn't for us anymore. And then it's just gone, right? And some of those players end up on other teams. And it's like, but it's so fluid, right?
Some of them just stop playing, period.
Totally. So, but man, if you could nail that nut, you'd be a winner. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with this Overwatch League.
Yeah.
Dayne, with that,
we got ourselves a show, my friend.
I think we got a show. Our game of the year is a lot of rambling about games.
It's almost like this is a video game podcast.
Yeah, you'd think so.
I know.
I got a lot of stuff to talk about still, but man, we're running long. So, you can follow me on Twitter at RickF.
You can always come hang out with me on Twitter at Dayne Cody, DayneCody.
If you haven't already, please follow us on Twitter at Geekoholics. Like us on Facebook, also Geekoholics, and subscribe to us on YouTube, Geekoholics. Every like, follow, and subscribe just helps us get more numbers. Eventually turns into hopefully more podcast listeners. And or maybe one day fulfills our dreams of doing this full time. We're a long ways from that. But it would be damn nice.
It'd be pretty cool.
We appreciate you showing up and listening. And as always, we will be back next week.
Absolutely.
Later.
Play lots of games.
Definitely. Peace.